One of the things I really miss about going out to restaurants is getting nice crispy fries. So I'm going to show you how to do that from scratch. So we're starting with our russet potatoes, which is also known as an Idaho potato or a baking potato. They have a lot of starch in them, so when they're fried correctly, that's when you get that really fluffy inside and the nice crispy outside. So I always like to give some tips about how to peel, cut. So I am going to use just my good old-fashioned, the OXO peeler. That's my favorite one. So if you hold the tip of your potato on the cutting board, I'm going to go back and forth because there are blades on actually both sides of your peeler. So you can go up and down and then twist the potato as you go along. It goes really fast this way. And then flip it over. Do the same thing on the other side. And then after you do both sides, you can lay it down on the cutting board and just get the ends. Inevitably, if you peel over your trash bucket or over the trash, you can drop your potato into the trash. So I always like to do it on a cutting board. And then also it makes for nice, easy cleanup. If you just put your trash bucket underneath your cutting board, use your bench scraper, sweep all those peels into your trash bucket. It goes really fast that way. One thing that we always want to be prepared with when we are working with raw potatoes is a bowl of cold water. Potatoes oxidize or turn brown very, very quickly. So if you leave it out even for a minute, it'll start turning brown. So I'm just going to put my potato into my cold water, and then I'm going to show you how to slice those up. So I'm going to use the mandolin to slice up my potatoes. So this is fitted with what we call the bâtonnet function. And if we can see here, there's little indentations, and that's going to make my nice fry cuts. So I always like to put on what we call a cut resistant glove. And that way it definitely guards against me cutting off a fingertip or a knuckle, trying to avoid that in our fries. And then all we do is just pass the potato over the blade, and it cuts them up into perfectly even slices of potato. We can see they look exactly like French fries. Now, if you do not have a mandolin or you don't want to go out and buy one, I can show you how to cut those up with a knife as well. So make sure, again, after you slice them, that they go into that bowl of cold water to stop them from oxidizing. So when we take our knife, we always want to pinch right here, thumb and forefinger on the blade, wrap our other 3 fingers around the handle like this. Our other hand, it's called our guiding hand, so you pull all your fingertips together and tip your knuckles over so they're butting up against the side of your knife, just like that. You're not in danger of cutting your fingertips because they're all tucked in together. So we're going to lay our potato on the cutting board, and I'm just going to cut off one slice off of one end. Okay. Now what that creates here is a good flat surface to lay on the cutting board. And that way you're not having to cut something that's rolling around on the cutting board. So from here, we're going to start cutting our planks. We want to do these about 1/4 of an inch or so. Depends on how big you want your fries, but I find that about 1/4 of an inch is mainly perfect for French fries because, again, you get that nice crispy exterior, nice fluffy inside, and they don't get soggy. Okay, so from here we can make some stacks of our potato, and then we're going to make our sticks. Okay, so pretty simple as long as you follow the steps and it's nice and safe. After we get all of our potatoes cut, I'm going to show you how to fry them in 2 stages. While my fryer is heating up, I just wanted to talk a little bit about frying in general. So if you do want to do some frying at home, we do suggest getting a little tabletop fryer like this, because if you're frying in a pot, it is very difficult to regulate the temperature, and then you're kind of left with a pot of oil that you don't really know what to do with. If you get a little tabletop fryer like this, first of all, they're not very expensive at all. I believe this one was under $50, and then you can filter the oil and you can reuse it. Plus, it is going to regulate the temperature for you, so it is much easier to use than just a pot of oil on the stove. Now, if you, again, don't want to go out and buy a fryer, you can use a pot of oil on the stove, but you need something to know how hot the oil is, so we suggest using a candy thermometer, and that will tell you what temperature your oil is. So we want to make sure to usually fry between 350 and 375. So any lower than 350, your product can be greasy. Any higher than 375 and your product can burn. So that's a really good temperature range to fry just about anything. And so I just wanted to show you some of the parts of the fryer. So we have the heating element here, and that's in the oil, and then we have a basket here, and that's how you can drop large quantities of product into your fryer. There are always a little max and minimum fill line in the fryer basket. Make sure and don't fill more than the max line. It's not going to look like a lot of oil, but we've actually seen this in class that if somebody fills it too full, you can bubble over, and then you can definitely risk burning yourself too, and that's a no-go. This one we love. This is a T-fowl, and we did some reviews, testing, so we found that this one works so well for us because it has its own filtration system. So if you can see down on the bottom here, there's a box where it'll actually filter the oil for you. And so if you have food particles left over in your oil, that's what can make the oil break down, and can also make the oil kind of smell a little funky. So it's a really good idea to use that filtration system. We also want to fry in a neutral flavored oil. We fry in canola oil just because we're able to get it in large tubs. But any neutral flavored oil, so corn oil, safflower, anything like that. But also, if you don't have any peanut allergies in your family, peanut oil is a wonderful oil to fry in because it doesn't break down as quickly as other oils, and it doesn't impart a peanut flavor to your food. So that's a great one you can use, and you can use it multiple times. So right now I have my oil heating to actually a lower temperature than we would typically fry. So I'm just heating to about 325, and as soon as that's hot enough, I'm going to show you how to do what's called blanch frying our fries. One other thing I wanted to say about this fryer is the fact that the oil reservoir comes out of the fryer, so it makes cleaning much easier. So if you're going to look for a tabletop fryer, definitely look for that aspect. So I have blanch fried some of my fries, and I'm going to show you how to put them in, and then also what to look for. So I took my fries out of that cold water and I dried them on a clean kitchen towel. We want to make sure that they are extremely dry before we add them to the fryer, or else we can have a lot of sputtering. Oil and water don't mix. Not a good combo, so definitely make sure your product is nice and dry before we add them. So I'm just going to put my fries, and I'm just putting one layer in my basket. If we try and dump all of those fries in the fryer at the same time, it'll drop the temperature of the oil too much, and then we'll wind up getting too greasy. So again, we're cooking at this lower temperature, so we're at about 325 right now, and we probably want to cook those fries for about 3 to 4 minutes until we can see they look kind of pale, but they'll also be a little bit floppy like this, okay? So you definitely wouldn't want to eat them at this point. So what that's doing is cooking the inside of the potato. And that way, when we go and put them up to a higher temperature, they're going to crisp up the outside and the inside is going to be fluffy, delicious. One of the trendy fries that we get out at restaurants these days when we're able to go back to restaurants is the truffle Parmesan fries. So I just wanted to show you a couple of ways that you can get that truffle flavor onto your fries. So one way is if you can find some truffle oil. After your fries are fried, you can toss them in just a little bit of this oil and that'll give them that nice kind of punch of flavor. And another way you can find that is truffle salt. So as soon as fries come out of the fryer, we want to hit it with salt as soon as they come out because the oil that's on the product will help the salt adhere. And we all know we like a little salt on our fries. So I just made a little truffle salt here so I can be ready with it. And I threw in a little bit of garlic powder, some onion powder, and a little bit of paprika. If you like a little black pepper in there, you can throw some in there as well. And so this will give the fry a really nice flavor, not just the truffle flavor, but it's also going to give a little bit more depth of flavor with that onion, garlic, paprika. And then after we put those on, we're going to toss in some nice freshly grated Parmesan cheese, and it's going to coat it and give it that really nice umami flavor. So our fryer has heated up to 350 degrees, and I have my blanched fries here, so I'm going to let those drop into the fryer. So we're using the basket to drop our fries in, so I'm placing them into the basket first and then lowering the basket down. But if we're ever frying something, say like fried chicken or something where we have to do what's called swimming, where we put the product directly into the oil instead of using the basket, we want to make sure and add it directly above the surface of the oil and then gently and away from yourself, let that product go. Lots of times we see people are afraid of the fryer, so they try and drop things from up here. So if you do that, what's going to happen is you're going to get burnt because the oil is going to splatter. So make friends with the fryer, get close to it, drop your product gently and away from yourself. Our fries have been in the fryer for about 2 minutes or so. It's going to take less time the second time we fry. So I'm about to pull them out. I just wanted to show you, we have a sheet pan that's lined with a paper towel, and then I have a wrap on top of that. And that allows the oil to drain off of the fries so they're not sitting in that grease. So speaking of draining, when we pull our basket up, we want to let the oil drip down below for just about 10 seconds or so until we don't see as many drips coming out anymore. All right, and then we're going to pick that up, dump that onto our prepared sheet pan. All right, and then, again, we want to get that salt on top as soon as the fries come out of the fryer. We want a nice hefty amount of salt. Remember, potatoes have zero seasoning on them, so all the flavor is going to come from what you put on top of them. Last step of the process is to add that nice freshly grated Parmesan cheese onto our fries, and then we can kind of give it a little bit of a toss like this. Okay, if you don't feel comfortable tossing, I'm not the best tosser in the world, but if you don't feel comfortable with that, you can get in there with your hands or use a pair of tongs. Either one of those works. And we have our beautiful truffle Parmesan fries. My favorite is to dip them also in that ranch dressing.